Oh, God. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final edition of CWIT Sessions for 2020. I am your girl, CWIT, also known as Chelsea Whittington, and I'm so delighted and excited to have my millennial phenom with me today, my client, my friend, Jordan Wilson, my fellow Howard alum. Yeah. And she is here today to give us a year in review of the Politicking app, which has taken off this year. And we're going to take a look forward to 2020. Jordan, welcome to CWIT Sessions.
Thank you for having me. You're right, 2020 has been a good year.
Yes, and despite the pandemic, despite so many different things going on, it was an election time, and Politicking app was just in the mix of everything, keeping us informed on races and information on how current and future candidates are voting and their views. So start with just telling a person who's tuning in and saying, I don't even know what Politicking app is. We'll start there to catch everybody up. What is Politicking?
Politicking isn't just an app, in fact. It's a cross-platform information source. And when I say information, you can learn obviously about elections, but you can also learn about political events, right? We've had a lot of talk about whether or not, not the rich people, of course, but the yeah. Us just kind of scraping our way to the top. Are we getting 2,000? Are we getting 600?
Right.
Again, this might not matter to the big people, but in all seriousness,
I'll take it though.
Most Americans are trying to figure out, what I'm saying is, even you'd have to qualify for a stimulus, and for those who do, most Americans will figure out, are we only going to receive $600 through a stimulus package or through a cash act? Are we going to receive $2,000?
Right.
And so these type of very pertinent, of course, and urgent events are what Politicking informs voters on to really understand what's happening outside of Election Day. Yeah. Election Day is like the Super Bowl, but
right.
There are
a bunch
so
of games
many other games and events and even off-season happenings in the league that really make a difference. And then the same goes with politics. Election Day is just one thing. I think that there's a scope of engagement that Politicking really tries to push, especially to young Black and brown people.
Yes. So I know you are a co-founder along with
Winkuni Siant. Shout out to my co-founder. We both started Politicking again to inform folks like us, to inform young Black and brown people on who and what issues were on the ballot, because even her and I walk into the ballot sometimes and don't know who some of the people are at the bottom, and that's fine. There are write-in candidates who might pop up. There are just randoms who might pop up. In some races, there might not be as much of a barrier to announcing your candidacy, and so with that, you just sort of see these names and you're kind of like, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
So,
and then you walk out after you voted like, did I do my community justice? Did
right.
I do my, the future?
You feel like you might have failed an exam.
Exactly.
And for most people, they feel like that's the most important one of their lives. And so Politicking ensures that people don't have that sense of failure or unfamiliarity, or at least that you have a tool to consult when you do see Bo Jackson running for council.
And you're like, oh,
I ain't never seen Bo Jackson, so we just help folks in that capacity and more.
Yeah. So how would you say in 2020 Politicking was most effective?
Yeah.
I know that you covered a variety of races. You had all types of interviews. In fact, most recently you had a celebrity interview.
Oh, Lamont Rucker.
Yes, everybody remembers Lamont Rucker. They're like, what is he talking about?
I know. People are like, who cares? No, I'm just kidding. He could be saying like Trump 2020. People would have been watching.
I'm still watching.
Right.
Yeah.
But Lamont Rucker, Senator Durbin, Damon Dash were just a couple of the bigger names that we had. But we had some people that really impacted me who maybe weren't as widely known. We had a bunch of mayors. We had a couple of candidates, a couple of people who were running to be the first. Woody Myers, who's a fellow Hoosier for us, and who really had an impact on me because, you know, he was someone who was seemingly, you know, just living good, but wanted to step back into public service to make a difference. Yeah. And so those are just kind of a number of people that we have. But what I think and how I think we were most impactful in 2020 is just being fearless about stepping into different spaces. And when we say, like, well, we're really looking to impact young Black voters, that might just automatically to some mean that we only care about Democrats, and that is so far from the truth.
Yes.
And so this year we talked to Republicans. Actually, just before I left, I had a chance to talk with a really big Republican operative in our state, and that's just what we do. You know, we were able to put ourselves on the map in races and in certain conversations that really didn't have as much to do with party, but had a lot to do with issues.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful that you are touching the scope of the population, because we're guilty sometimes of saying, millennials, y'all don't know what's going on.
All the time. Yeah, what
I
you
don't
mean?
say that.
Why she say sometimes?
I don't say
all
that.
The time.
What do? I surround myself with millennials. Why? Because you all have a different perspective that you bring to the table, and we learn from one another. That's the way I look at it. But at the same time, we also look at you all as an investment in our future. And so if you have taken the initiative along with your co-founder to say, we're going to study these races, we're going to study these candidates, and we're going to put this information out here so that we can be informed voters. I want to be honest with you, George, that gives me hope. That makes me excited about your generation, that you're making differences. I have another client, 26, running a nonprofit organization. So don't get it twisted. Yeah. There are some that say, oh,
we know there's love. We know there's all love.
But there are a lot of you who are doing things that are going to change the world. Yes. And I think politicking is definitely one of them.
Thank you.
So talk to me about 2021. I mean, you've done so much in 2020. There's more work, though, because you always emphasize, when I'm following you on Instagram, and we're on Instagram today, too, that even when the elections are over, there's still more work to do.
There's plenty to do. Yeah. When I was... I actually can't tell this on camera, but there's actually plenty to do. When you are like, you know, practice is the most important part of, I think, the process if you're an athlete, and not just the game. The game is just like, that's it. But if you didn't put a lot of work in when you were outside of the lights, then it probably won't even matter what you're doing that day. And so that's what we try to enforce with politics: your engagement before the election, your engagement after the election, and then especially your engagement with candidates and politics after you voted for somebody is what's really important.
Mm-hmm. Holding them accountable?
Holding accountability. Mm-hmm. So that will be the key word in 2021.
Okay.
We're partnering with a lot of organizations that most people will be familiar with, some not so much. But we're partnering with also candidates and other entities that are civically minded to ensure that communities and people can hold candidates accountable.
I love it.
And so we will create our own mechanisms for figuring out if someone's actually fulfilled what they said they would.
Report card time.
Yeah, we're adding a large component of this to the app, of course, because as I mentioned, politicking is a cross-platform entity, but the app will really allow folks to, in the same way they could find out where they need to vote now, or in the same way they could figure out what their voting checklist is, they could consult with the app to figure out, like, now I know Joe Biden said that he would do X, Y, Z.
He was going to do?
Right.
Let's go through the checklist.
So they'll be able to find politicking, and so accountability will be a big part, and I will say partnerships, which leans a lot through accountability. As I mentioned, we were working with people on accountability guides, but partnerships will be a large part of 2021. You know, we have been able to create a good reach, but an incredible one, I think, will occur as we continue to work with our partners who are similarly aligned. Again, we're nonpartisan. They don't have to share the exact same beliefs, but principally as long as they want people to be able to vote and to be able to knock out those barriers, namely the information barrier, then we're game. So if y'all are watching this and you think that you be good partners with Politicking, please, by all means, reach out to us.
Okay, so how do they reach out to you? Because I know that you have an ongoing crowdfunding campaign, and while we know that you're a for-profit, it takes money to update the app, to keep it current,
that is
the
what
whole
it,
technology.
I want to talk about that, but that's why we're collecting money. We, we're collecting money for no reason other than to create a system or systems for us to be able to extrapolate, create, and
sustain the technology.
Sustain information and technology. It's so much more expensive than it seems. I mean, I don't think people could even imagine how much it costs. And so for us to do that in a way that is fun, first of all, just being transparent for people to use, is easy to parse through. It really costs, and so that's why we are kicking off our crowdfunding campaign, or we kicked it off a couple of months ago, but we're continuing to sort of emphasize the importance of giving. We are in the season of giving. It's GoFundMe, Politicking. It's not that hard to find. And
I'll post it.
Yeah, we'll be able to share it. But also we're starting some stuff in 2021 that there may be more niche campaigns.
Okay.
But for everyone voting now, just generally you could, or for everyone watching now, just generally you could engage by going onto our GoFundMe.
And here's the cool thing about the Politicking app. It's on both platforms, so whether you're an Android person like moi, or
we don't
an iPhone,
discriminate.
no discrimination. And I am just so proud of you and your co-founder of all the accomplishments thus far. And here's my prediction for you for 2021. I want everybody
to hear this.
Lean in and listen.
I want to hear this.
Someone, somewhere, or some entity is going to see our conversation, recognize the importance of your platform and how revolutionary and impactful it is, not only to your generation, but all voters across the board, and make an amazing, unheard of, unprecedented investment in politicking.
Thank you.
That's 2021.
I receive that.
Yes.
I receive that.
And now the big question of the day. She didn't know I was going to ask her this, everybody.
I'm scared.
But it's no secret that you come from a family of, that has elected officials and an interest in politics and a great impact in our community.
Sure.
So we all just want to know, maybe 2021 or beyond, does Jordan Wilson have any political aspirations? Because I would want someone like this brilliant mind to represent me, and I'm thinking those watching are thinking the same thing. Like, if they've gone the lengths to create an app and a platform to get us engaged, you might as well carry the ball in the end zone to that.
No, I'm definitely open to it. Not necessarily, I don't think anybody should expect a campaign contribution email from me in January. They're like, wait, was this all planned? No, it really wasn't. No, but I'm open to it. I don't think there are enough, representation matters, but representation for cause matters. So just because we have people that look like us, I don't necessarily think that means we should be comfortable or just feel set. But when we have people like us that care about the community, which I do, I think that we should continue to uplift those. So I'm interested in supporting the people we have now that fit that box. And in the event, the platform Politicking is in a position that it needs to be, and in the event that there aren't already people in a position who fill those boxes in certain areas, I definitely am open.
That is wonderful
to the prospect.
News.
Yeah, definitely.
That's wonderful news.
Definitely.
Well, when that time comes, you know who to call to help with the support of that.
Of course,
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Now let's switch to the White House.
Let's talk about it.
January. I'm going to let you know I'm going.
Okay.
I'm going to D.C.
Yeah, we got to be there.
My Howard sister, we are going to D.C.
Yeah.
We'll be broadcasting live, doing all types of Facebook, Instagram lives, so people can really get a front row seat to this historic occasion.
Yeah.
Not only just being a Howard grad, but just your whole mindset with the new administration coming in, but in particular to it being a black woman, Kamala Harris, coming to the second highest political position in the world.
In the world, literally.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I'm amazed, but I'm not shocked by any means. And I think the president-elect has shown himself to be a person who's very tenacious, persistent, and interested in serving. He's made that clear that he had interest in serving in the highest capacity of the land for, I mean, I'm not, this is not hyperbole, 40 years. So that's been clear for a while.
Long time.
And she's, I would say, maybe in more subtle ways, a person who has a similar story. You know, she's always sort of pursued higher heights. And so I'm not surprised. I'm amazed that they did it against the odds. You know, we actually, the outgoing president is someone who sort of postures himself to be about business, but ironically, I think that's what led the current or the incoming administration to victory. They didn't waste a lot of time, although there was just natural political rhetoric. They didn't waste a lot of time just going on this vitriolic character rant. I think they were just like, this is the stuff we want to accomplish.
Straight to the people,
this is how we're going to do it.
grassroots.
Yeah, straight to the people. And so I think that led them to the White House, and I'm excited for the sort of inspiration that this offers to young black women, and women I use in the most broad terms that it possibly could mean. You know, all of those of us who identify as women, I'm excited to see what that means for us. And then I'm excited to see what that means for, you know, folks just getting out the way. Who've been there for a while.
Exactly. I'm excited for America. So what would you say, all these cameras running, to your millennial counterparts who have been on the couch, they have been on the sidelines, they have not gotten in the game, New Year's coming, time to get educated, involved, what would you say to them as we close out?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, put your heart in it. And I know that sounds weird. It's like, what? Yeah, but it's, you know, I know we care about what kind of schools our children, our cousins, our godchildren, nieces, nephews are going to. I know we care a lot about what kind of hospitals our grandmothers or even ourselves are in, what sort of doctors we have access to. We care a lot, of course, about the quality of life in the neighborhood around us. And that's just a simple way that we can look at the need to get engaged. But overall, you know what I mean? I'm tired of hearing a lot about, as I mentioned, how bad this person is in politics or how horrible or trifling they are, but not really hearing much from those people who say that stuff about what they will do to make a difference. I want to see a different level of governance that really does embrace accountability and effectiveness. And so I promise you, anybody who's watching this shares those same feelings. And so I would just say the only way that we can ensure that'll happen is if we all do something. Everybody doesn't have a role. Some people, I'll be honest with you, their best bet might be
just vote.
Their best bet might be just to sort of take a sort of one step away to getting engaged, but then there are some people who might really surprise themselves if they just made themselves available.
Yes.
You know, to volunteering, to protesting, to just reaching out to somebody like, hey, you know, is there anything I could do as an accountant, as a lawyer, whatever. And so as muscle, you know, people even need, you know, a street team. So I would say if you make yourself available to helping or lending your talents, you would be surprised what you could do for your community and the country.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Jordan Wilson, co-founder of Politicking, which is an app and a platform that helps you to stay engaged and informed about all things politics, candidates, issues, where to vote, and holding those winners accountable.
That's right.
And my conversation today, again, with Jordan gives me hope. Our future is in great hands.
You give me hope, too.
I try, but I'm not in the millennials form anymore, but definitely still engaged, definitely hyped up about staying informed and making a difference in my corner of the world.
That's
you know,
right.
If everybody takes the time to paint their corner of the world, collectively, we make a difference. I want you all to remember this video, remember this face, download the app today, Go to the website, politickingapp.com. Amazing things are in store for 2021. Thank you so much. We are here broadcasting live from one of my favorite places, Jay's Breakfast Club.
Anytime you visit, everybody wants to know how Gary is. Like, why don't you visit, take a day trip, take a whole trip, and start with Jay's Breakfast Club.
Start with Jay's, 3669 Broadway. We're going to have lunch and talk more about our plans for 2021. But I want to thank each one of you for tuning in to the last CWHITT session of 2020. So you're making history.
And this is our last session. I believe it will be.
Yeah. Okay. So last session for Politicking. However, don't forget tomorrow on WGVE 88.7 FM. It's the CWHITT takeover. We're taking over the airwaves for 2 whole hours. And Jordan's going to join us. She's going to pop
be there.
in.
Yeah.
I can't wait. We have a lot of surprises, a lot of announcements, and we want you there too. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Chelsea Whittington. Follow us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I think that this conversation inspired somebody to get up and get involved. And with that, we bid you farewell, and we will see you next time. Happy New Year.
Bye, y'all.